Welcome again to the podcast, the Josh Christ podcast. Today we have Lawrence Lockhart, a developer advocate at Vaadin. Did I pronounce it right?
Maybe. I don't know. Yes, Vaadin. Vaadin, yes.
Vaadin.
I hear so many pronunciations. I'm like, just go with what you know. We just want you to use it.
Yeah, because it's called the double, like
Double A.
VAA, and I'm like
Uh-huh.
Vaadin. The stress there a little bit. So
Yeah.
so
Vaadin
let's go.
works. Vaadin.
Oh yeah, Vaadin. All right. So and that's a company actually. We're gonna explore more on this podcast. And actually,
Yeah,
Vaadin has got thousands of followers on LinkedIn. Yeah, you
that's
know,
correct.
yeah. So we're gonna learn a lot about that today. Lawrence is a former hospitality manager turned software engineer dedicated to enhancing customer experiences, with digital products. He's also, a mentor and he builds communities in the tech space. So it's great to have you here today. Thanks for joining us today. So, how you doing?
Great. Man, doing great. Like I said, once I'm giving my computer a little boost of coffee, we'll both be great here. It's still early. I'm in the US, of course, Central Time, and I suspect you're not in the US. Is that correct?
Nah. I'm in Lagos, Nigeria. GMT plus one.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
So
2
it's
p.m. over here. What's he over there?
2 or 3 p.m., 2 p.m.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
2 p.m. Yeah.
7 a.m. Ugh.
Oh my God.
But
I
we're
am
here.
so,
We're ready. We're fired up.
yeah, yeah, let's do this. I was gonna say I'm so sorry for putting you through this. 7 a.m.
No issue whatsoever. Been up since 5, studying, finishing blogs, and doing what we do. 5 a.m.
Yeah,
is my next hour for work, so we're
awesome.
good.
Yeah. So that was me introducing you. It's a pleasure having you on the Josh Christ podcast. Would you,
Okay.
want to do a little bit better than I did and just, introduce yourself to all the people, let the audience learn about you?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I think a lot of my brand is tied to my transition story and the fact that as a middle-aged adult, I have a very long career in restaurant management, hospitality management, running every type of food service imaginable, whether it's fast food, fine dining, casual dining, buffets. I ran campus university dining establishments, even some nightclub type experiences. I'm not sure if you know the name Isaac Hayes. He was a huge R&B and soul artist. Well, he had a celebrity restaurant in the Memphis area, so I was one of their opening training servers. That's the former life.
Oh
There
yeah.
just came a point where you say enough is enough, and I'm too tired to get any more tired, and I had to make a change. I literally had to make a change. I began this long and unfortunately not very fun process of learning to code on my own. Just me up in the loft every night, every morning, working 60, 70, 80 hours because, restaurant management, you're always on, even when,
Yeah.
especially if you're a general manager, even when you're off, you're on. And so getting off tired, saying hi to my family, then taking my laptop and or whatever I had and going upstairs and coding away on Free Code Camp and YouTube and codingphase.com and so many other
Oh
free and
yeah.
low cost resources. Yeah, I went through so many, probably too many to be honest. Because you always think when you don't know, maybe it's not me, maybe it's the tutorial. I need to get another one, then you get
Oh
another one, and
yeah,
I was
that's right.
tutorial. I was major league in tutorial hell, just thinking if I get just the right one, that'll make the difference. When the difference was really me taking the time to go deeper and do more building. And I didn't really know that at the time because I wasn't connected with community. But eventually I did. I was really happy to meet great folks here in the Memphis area. I actually lived about an hour and a half from here at the time. So it was a drive for me. It was not just
Oh
this
yeah.
easy thing like, hey, join community. I didn't have a community. So I would get in the car on, I think it was Tuesday or Thursday evenings once a month and drive an hour and a half up to Memphis after I got off work, perhaps. And I would go to the meetup, met amazing people, names that, like Joe Ferguson from the PHP community, people like George Spake, Bryce, Ted Patterson, James Quick. You may know James Quick. He's
Oh
pretty well
yeah.
known in the
Yeah.
JavaScript community. These were people who just took me in, just mentored me and showed me the way, showed me a lot of love, which they didn't have to do. Like there's no mandate, like your job. This is all their volunteer time. Just to be kind and open doors for me and help and teach me things. And eventually that was enough to put together a haphazard, just enough of a portfolio to get my first web dev job, which actually wasn't even called web dev. It was digital content creator digital content developer. It was something weird. It was a title you would never look up, which is one of my first lessons to people. I don't always rely on just the title that you're thinking of. Look outside the title in terms of your capabilities and what your skills are and what your tech stacks are. Maybe just search the stack instead of a title. You might find titles that you didn't know existed, but they're doing things that you know how to do. And that's exactly what happened for me. I worked for a small retail chain that went bankrupt. It was in a marketing department. I wasn't even in IT, but I was out of the food business. That was the key. That was the key. The first step is that most important step, getting out of the uncomfortable environment that's not serving you well into something tech related. So I was able to code some WordPress sites, learn just enough PHP to be dangerous. And I haven't learned any more since then. Doing a little bootstraps of websites, just a little bit of database. And that was my transition into tech. So that was like six and a half years ago.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. Do you know what? I'm thinking about it right now because I mean, you started 6 years ago. Would you say getting into tech way back was, it's a little bit different than what it is today? And if,
Absolutely.
yeah, so if that's the case, for those from non-traditional backgrounds, what advice can help anyone out there stand out and secure opportunities in today's competitive market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the two main differences are the level of competitiveness now is dramatically higher than what it was, which means you're in a seller's market from the company's perspective. They can be more choosy, right? They can be more selective. So that's not a problem. I want people to think about that as just a data point, right? And we are engineers, developers. We operate, we make database decisions, database business decisions. We do analysis to help our companies make database business decisions. Well, a great place to start doing that is with yourself and even your own career journey. You can take your career journey as a project. And so you begin to get these different data points. And one of them is companies are more selective now. Therefore, what should I do differently that maybe a mentor like myself or someone else 5, 6, 8 years ago didn't have to do? And the key thing is you have to figure out how to differentiate yourself. I hate to say it this way, but the number of applicants alone is almost like noise. It's almost like noise. I always remember driving with my dad when I was a kid. For some reason, he would just love AM radio. I don't know why he loved AM radio. FM radio
Mm.
always sounded better, but he would love it. And I can always remember him just turning the knob, and it's just all this noise. And
Oh
then
yeah.
finally, just a glimpse of a station, and then like he'd go back and forth and just nail it just right. Today's self-taught developer is that station in AM radio. You're surrounded by noise. You have to figure out what you have to do in order to shine so people, meaning companies, can tune into you. Is that who you know? Probably not.
Okay.
Is it who knows you and what your capabilities are? Probably so.
Oh
It's not
yeah.
who you know, it's who knows you and what your capabilities are. That's one way of differentiating yourself. Being more deeply technical. The level of portfolio that I produced to get my first job in tech 6.5 years ago absolutely would not get me hired today.
Oh yeah.
Not complex enough. Doesn't show enough level of depth. Doesn't show enough understanding of tech stacks. Doesn't show enough. Hey, I weighed out these different options and I decided to go this way instead of that way. I used GraphQL versus REST API. I
Rest.
used a precision. I used a relational database versus non-relational for these reasons. I didn't make any of those choices, so I didn't show what I call enterprise level competency. That is a requirement. You have to show enterprise level competency, which means the timelines that you hear from mentors and gurus and YouTube people from who broke into tech 5, 6, 7 years ago, those timelines don't really make sense anymore. What was a year then might be 2 years now. Not because you're better or worse of a candidate, it just takes more time for you to be able to do those extra things. Having the people to know you, doing those connections, going deeper into your tech stacks, being able to speak more enterprise language, right? They want to hear certain things. They call it signals in the interview. They're listening for certain things that demonstrate your depth. As I always say, if you go in an interview at the conclusion of the interview or later on, they say, well, we didn't go with you because you didn't have enough experience. I understand that's a code word. That's a
Oh
code
yeah.
word. They knew exactly what your experience was before the interview because you already gave them the resume, and they probably searched your LinkedIn and their social. They already know your experience, but vis-a-vis your conversation, they didn't hear that experience translated into what you readily know.
I see
They
that.
wanted to hear certain signals, like this person, he or she's at this level. We see what's on the paper, but we're not hearing it with confidence. So you have to be able to instill confidence, which means you have to engage a lot more conversations. You can't do
Yeah.
like I did, just sit in your loft or sit in your attic or in the basement and code. Then you're going to just go out and talk so fluently with people in an interview. Probably not. You need to do a lot of interview prep, a lot of interview prep. And if it's not interview prep, technically, just the process of talking to other people about technical things, which means going to the meetups and the conferences, it's not just about handshake, QR code, here's my LinkedIn. Let me just engage in some technical conversation with people so I can get comfortable talking about, hey, here's why we want to choose this particular data structure. This is faster here. This will scale better here. This tech stack is better for scale in the 10,000s. This was better for scale in the 10 millions. Hey, let's automate this. You want to get more comfortable with the language of technology. So you seem like less of an imposter when you get in the interview.
Yeah.
If you seem like you don't belong, they're not going to say that because trying to be somewhat politically correct. They'll say, well, you didn't have enough experience. What they're trying to tell you is your conversation with us did not instill confidence that we can trust you with our code. And so my best friend in the world, Danny Thompson, always says, de-risk yourself. You have to figure out ways to make yourself less of a risk to an employer. They're making an investment in you, just like you invest in a stock or a bond or any security. You're an investment to them.
Oh
They're going to
yeah.
put a certain amount of money to you, 50, 80, 100, 200, whatever. They're expecting a certain result, but they have a risk meter. And
Oh
there's a
yeah.
certain level of risk where if you're too far over here, they're not willing to make that. They'll just let the position stay unfilled before they take too much risk because you don't seem confident or your skill levels are either too narrow or too broad and too shallow. They're looking for a certain level of confidence vis-a-vis your communication to bring that risk down. Like, yes, Joshua will be a good bet. Bring him on.
Oh yeah. Got it. That's so inspiring. Absolute, enlightening there. A follow-up question to that was gonna go, talking about, how you transition successfully, right?
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask you some of the best routes for aspiring developers to consider when starting the journey in this field. But you pretty much talked about it there. Yeah, you did really. So you're currently a developer advocate, right? At
Yeah.
Vaadin.
The weirdest job in tech. It's absolutely the
Tell me
weirdest job
about
in
it.
tech. You know why? Because what is it? Like, what is it really? You're a developer advocate. Okay, you advocate for developers. What does that mean?
Yeah.
You're the lawyer, you're the mediator. And what I've come to understand is you
Yeah.
are a two-sided coin. Ideal developer advocate, sometimes called DevRel, developer relations engineer. Earlier incarnations, they used to call it the technical evangelist. These days, developer advocates, in an ideal sense, are one of a set of people who are two sides of a coin. They represent a company or interest to developers at large.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
here's what's new. Here's what's available. Here's some technologies. Here's some solutions that can help you do what you do. This can make you more productive. This can make your company more money. Here's the set of tools that this company has available for you.
Oh yeah.
That's one side of the coin. Now, a good developer advocate plays the other side as well because they are traditionally a developer or a software engineer by trade. They've been on the other side of the fence. They've been in enterprise environments of
Yeah.
startup size or larger size, and they know what some of the pain points are like as a developer in different scenarios. So they are intimately connected with developers in the field to find out what's working and
Oh
what's
yeah.
going very, very, very wrong,
Yeah.
how can it be fixed, and relating that messaging back to either engineering or back to product. So I'm really happy at my organization. One of the first things that happened shortly after I got started there had nothing to do with me, was that they moved developer relations, DevRel, from marketing to product. So we are literally located within the larger product department. So we have a lot of ease of access of communication for, hey, this is what we're hearing in the field. These are the questions people have. Hey, the documentation needs to be fixed here. We can bring that messaging back. Again, represent the developers to the company and the company to the developer. Now, my particular transition into this it was kind of like I want to be paid more.
Yeah.
Paid more. I was already a developer. I was working at FedEx. I was enjoying it. Had a robust team. Probably wasn't going anywhere anytime soon, though they did have layoffs. Enjoying what I did. So that was my 9 to 5. But in my 5 to 9 or my 5 to 10, I was
Mhm.
making YouTube videos and TikTok videos and doing Instagram stories about breaking into tech. And I was running meetups and organizing local meetups and speaking at conferences. I'm doing all these things. I stumbled around and find out, people get paid to do that.
Oh yeah.
Get paid to
Of
produce
course.
content on behalf of a company or on behalf of some tool set. So I said, okay, well, what is that called? DevRel,
Oh
developer
yeah.
relations. I said, oh. So I went for it, put my little resume together, didn't know anything about DevRel, and I went for one position. Didn't get it. Went for another one. I got really close and they closed the position. They had a budget thing happen. They just closed the position. That didn't work. Went for another one, didn't get that one. So I'm like, all right, so I'm not doing something right here. This is like the third rejection. I'm not used to this. I'm used to this back like 5 years ago when I was getting started. I had 200 plus rejections, like just
Oh yeah.
tons of rejections. I won't even say rejections. Like you would apply, you would never hear anything. That was normal for me.
Oh
But now I'm a little more senior. I got some experience under my belt. People kind
yeah.
of know me. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. And I just get rejected just left and right. And I was like, you know what? I need to follow the advice that I give my mentees because I'm spending a lot of time, and I still do, on TopMate, mentoring people. I need to leverage my strengths. It's a cute phrase, but what does it mean? Leverage your strengths. Okay, how? You need to rely on where you stand out from others. And so in the DevRel space, okay, I do content, great. I've spoken at conferences, great. But what is my core strength in a tech sense? It's the Java world. I've been doing Java and Spring Boot and Hibernate and JPA for like 4 years at FedEx. But I'm applying to just random DevRel roles, which didn't make a lot of sense. And I was not getting them. So I said, all right, going forward, I'm only going to apply to DevRel roles or developer advocacy roles at a place that does Java because that's my strength. So I want to combine my presence in the community with what I've literally been doing on a day-to-day basis for 4 years. Well, interestingly, there's not a lot of places that fit that category. You got Oracle, JetBrains, Red Hat. There's like a small number, and the one that I came up with that ended up working out for me is where I am right now. It's called Vaadin.
Yeah.
Fascinating company. It's built in Finland about 20ish years ago, and just some magnificent engineers, man. German engineers, Finnish engineers, they're just next level. And so I've been really, really happy of seeing what we do in our product teams and even our developer advocacy team. All of them are hardcore engineers. They build, like they're not just building a product. They build, and they're very interested in the product working well. And when it does it, you'll see our DevRels in the pull requests in GitHub, right? Actually working to make products. Say this should be like this should be like that. We're not just out here, well, I'm in, but they aren't just out here just, talking about the benefits of the company. They're actually helping to make it better. And so that has worked out for me. Started there August of 2023. So I'm over my 1 year mark. I'm no longer
Awesome.
a noob, and looking forward to going into 2025 nice and strong. I need some speaking engagements. So we're working on that. I think I had 11 in-person speaking engagements and 6 or 7 online like this last year, where I had the opportunity to talk about the product. So really, really happy with where I am. Not looking to go anywhere anytime soon. Like I said, like I told my wife the other day, they're gonna have to push me out because it's a good environment. It's
Oh
a good
yeah.
environment, and the mentorship, the leadership from my boss, Marcus Hellberg, who I'm sure will be a Java champion pretty soon because he's top notch. It's spectacular. It's spectacular, and the opportunity I have to continue to help people find solutions to their problems is a great thing. I just
Yeah.
came back from Tampa, Florida, gave a talk at a meetup there, and the questions weren't that complex, but they were of the type where you can tell, oh, they're really interested. Like they want to use this stuff.
Oh
And so what
yeah.
we have on is not just a framework, because just the conversation of swapping framework A for framework B is kind of what's got the JavaScript world where it is. What we have is an entire ecosystem, an entire platform for Java developers. I call it a home for Java developers.
Oh
That
yeah.
includes web components, it includes two different frameworks, it includes an AI coding assistant, testing tools, design tools, modernization toolkits, tools to get your code out the door with managing your Kubernetes clusters. Like it's just an entire ecosystem, primarily built on Spring Boot backend architecture, but also works with Jakarta EE and Quarkus, things like that. And the ability to build business applications, real full stack business applications, full stack, front end, back, as a Java developer and have a framework that just makes sense, or two frameworks that just make sense, is something that we haven't really seen before. So I'm always happy to talk about that. And the cool thing is just how many people have never heard of it in the US, but when they try it, they love it.
Oh
But like,
yeah.
where is this in all the time? Like, we've been around for 20 years, but hey, you're here now, so we're glad to have you.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you want to share, some exciting developments at Vaadin, and how it impacts Java developers in the projects? Maybe get
Absolutely.
into some structured highlights, detailed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one just really quickly. So our most recent release is release 24.5. One of the things that we have really enhanced is our Copilot feature. I'm so just amazed by our Copilot. So you might think of the other Copilot, but we have a product called Copilot that works in the browser. So just imagine running an application that you've just written and you run it on your local machine and you're wanting to debug, you want to try out something. You activate our Copilot, which is free for 90 days, and there's like a small fee afterwards. You can do so many things. So right within the browser, you can literally begin dragging and dropping elements into the browser, and it generates the code for you in your editor.
Oh yeah.
Or, and you can switch back to just using the editor and still see the updates in the browser as normal. You're not locked in, which is something unique. I've seen some tools like this. Like once you start using the AI or using the drag and drop, you're stuck in that mode. You can go back and forth seamlessly with no issue. That's really neat. I
Yeah.
just wrote a blog about internationalization. So you're in Nigeria, I'm in the US, different languages all around the world. It's a global economy and all that kind of goofy stuff. We have internationalization tools with literally one click. The tool itself will scan through for all the static strings and then generate API calls so that you can get a localization file for wherever that person, that user is accessing the browser, which is amazing. This is all part of Copilot. We have, oh my gosh, accessibility checkers for you within the UI, within the Copilot. And you can actually do, how I want to say this, you can do prompts in your browser that would generate code. So that you can literally type in the search or the text field in the browser, generate a footer that has the following address, enter. You'll see it in the browser and it'll generate the code. It is nuts. So very, very powerful tool in our Copilot, and they're only getting better. It works for both the frameworks. It's customized for all of our web components, and that's a cool feature. That's a really, really cool
Could
feature.
you actually do that only in the browser, or like if you use
Here's what you do. You have the option. That's the cool thing.
okay.
So we like giving engineers options. We know engineers don't like to be locked into things too much.
Yeah.
Like too much opinionation kind of makes you stifled. So what you have is an option. So where it is appropriate to do drag and drop or to do browser-based additions to your code, you can do that. And at whatever time the individual developer or developer team wants to simply just code as normal, you can always go back to your IDE and do the updates without seamlessly. There's literally nothing to do.
Oh
There's
yeah.
a one-click shortcut to activate the Copilot, and then when you're done with it, you can deactivate it and go right back to normal. So really, really excited about that.
All right.
I keep looking at the screen. I actually have it pulled up right now, but yes, that's a super, super amazing advancement. I will say one more from our
Okay.
24 beta release. So we have two frameworks.
All
One
right.
that is 100% Java, which is really awesome because it's built on our web components, built to web standard. You can literally code a front, UI, the back end, all in one language, which saves you from mental context switching. If you're on a team in a company environment, it saves you from the whole passing your portion over the wall or waiting on the other team to give you their part. Like, hey, we need that endpoint. Everything can happen in one team, which makes you more proficient, more efficient, and get code out the door faster. However, we also have another framework called Hilla, which is really designed for when you really need more granular control of, almost every pixel or every element. It combines a Spring Boot backend with a TypeScript React frontend, bundled in a single project where we have classes to help the two work together on your behalf. So this is where the opinionated portion comes into play. Things like being able to call your backend methods from the front end because of our automated generated interfaces, things of that nature. Automatic form validation based on the model that you have in the back end. It's built to work together, front and back, with the React and Spring Boot. As of our release that came out this spring, this past spring 2024, you can literally add flow views or a flow UI, the Java one, in the Hilla application, or a React view, a Hilla view in the flow. So back and forth. So what does that mean? Because that's like a lot of language. You can literally quickly draw up or build out an MVP application just in Java. Done. Then you want one particular page, one particular view. It needs to be React. React has certain things that you want to do. You can literally add that right in your Java Flow framework application, and it just works. No
Awesome.
wiring or anything needed on your behalf. That is amazing. That's
Yeah.
literally amazing. I still don't even know how we do it. I need to get into. So most of our everything we do is open source. Our core offerings are open source. People can start with this today. Just go to the documentation. The documentation is great. It's being redone. We have this really smart guy, Petter, who's redoing the documentation, making it modern, nice, fun coding examples. But you can start with our core offerings for free forever. And you will not get an Oracle-esque message in 90 days. Hey, it's time to pay. Like, it's just free. Well, the majority of our components, the frameworks themselves, Flow, Hilla, and the integration therein, those are all free and open source. And so we invite people to use them. I mentioned the web components just kind of loosely, but that is a core part of our core offerings. The web components that we have that help with so many use cases, buttons and text fields and date pickers and different classes to tie things together between the front and back end. Those are all available. But what's really awesome is the community that surrounded Vaadin and said, hey, we love your components, but we have some custom components we want to have for ourselves. So Vaadin offers a add-on directory with literally thousands of web components that just work out of the box that have been built by our amazing open source community. You'll find developers all over the world contributing to it. Some of our own developers and engineers contribute to it because, hey, maybe I don't want to pay for the really cool chart. So I'll just make one and make it available for everybody. That's pretty neat to work with.
Awesome. So, what would you say actually sets Vaadin apart, from all the frameworks?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
this
one
video is gonna
important
go
thing,
around,
yeah,
and developers, engineers, they'd be watching this. Investors as well could be watching this. So,
absolutely.
yeah, go for it.
Absolutely. One of the big things that I love is Vaadin really has no interest in trying to be all things to all people. I am so happy about that. So what we make is the ultimate solutions for Java developers and Java teams building business applications. If you just need a cute little website, this is not the thing for you. There's ample tools that do that well. If you are deep in the Python, if your team is based on Python, you have the joshchriscompany.com. You have mostly Python developers. We don't have things for Python offerings, and we aren't optimized for a JavaScript team. Everything we built is specifically for one set of people, and we do it very well. And that's nice to see, not trying to just expand. Well, everyone is our customer. No, they actually aren't. We're looking for those people who are Java developers, individual. I literally had a guy come up to me at one conference called Connect Tech in Atlanta. He never heard of it before, but he came, listened to the presentation, went home, started building. By the next conference in Atlanta, which was called Dev Nexus, he had built a full stack application with one of our frameworks by himself and sold it for money to a client. It was a login system for their employees, which means it works. And he was so happy. I mean, he was at my booth with his laptop open, like, look. That's because we've optimized for that very scenario to give power to the Java developer to be, no, you're not just back end anymore. You can be full stack with our technologies. I don't know anything else that does that the way we do it, with the option to say, hey, but if you need to add React, for instance, you can also add React views, and we'll make it work for you where the React, the front end, and the back end are working together. So for instance, and I mentioned this in brief earlier, if you have a backend method, let's just say a find all method for some data, okay? Very typical method, find all or find by ID. And you need to be able to expose that method that is described in the backend to the front end, where maybe a button click finds all the users. In our framework, Hilla, what we have is an annotation called browser callable, at browser callable. When the application is scanned, like Spring Boot scans or our framework will scan, when it sees that annotation, what it does for you is generate an equivalent TypeScript interface on the front end that is always type safe, accurate, and is written in TypeScript. So I said it a lot fast, but just lay down. When you write a backend method in Java, but you have that annotation, browser callable on that class, that service class, when the annotation is scanned, it will generate a TypeScript interface on the front end for you. So in order to call the find all method from the front, from your React, you just call find all or a find ID or whatever it is. You just
Yeah.
call the method and it just works. And it's type safe every time. As long as you don't do one thing, don't touch it. On the generated files, when you look into your project structure, you'll see a folder or a package called generated. It's grayed out. It's grayed out for a reason. It means leave this alone. We made this for you. We know it works. Don't touch it. Type safe, secure, ready to roll all the time. I don't know anything else on the planet that's doing that like that, specifically for Java developers and teams.
All right, cool. So I want to learn about this. Let's, put out there some advice for, aspiring developers. So with your mentoring experience, what's the most common mistake aspiring developers make and how can they overcome it? When you think about beginners and okay, let's move from aspiring developers to beginners, right? You're the beginner stage. And I've seen a lot of developers, it's something that's very common, happen to me. For instance, yourself as well, you moved from course to course and stuff like that,
Yep.
right? And it's a little bit sort of common, you know. w- You see developers taking so long to, learn in this
Yeah.
talking tutorial hell. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So, what's the advice you can actually give to them to help them break through that? And anyone right now watching this wants to get into development and they've
Yeah.
heard about that circle of Chinois, they just keep learning. And learning is great, but you got to think about are you actually making progress?
Yeah.
People just learn for years and years without, any, um, attaining, specific heights,
Right.
and they just go on like that. So, what's gonna be that advice you're gonna give to aspiring developers and beginners right now to completely change the game? This video is gonna go around. Let's see what we've got to say.
Sure. Two answers for that one. So let's answer the tutorial hill part first.
Okay.
The best way to learn new tech is to bump your head repeatedly. Bump your head painfully, painfully. Put a knot in your head. See, when you take let's take Free Code Camp for instance. I
Okay.
absolutely love Free Code Camp. Quincy Larson and that team do an amazing job, and they not only keep the course updated, their video series. People who sleep on the Free Code Camp video series on YouTube. They are fantastic, an amazing resource. There's something about Free Code Camp that makes you feel very empowered, very powerful, very successful. Every time you do, like when you add the little cat to the little cat app, it gives you all the little stars and congratulations. That's not how the world works. There's
Yeah.
nothing about enterprise, there's nothing about your interview process that will even resemble that. This is not talking down on Free Code Camp. I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
What I want people to know is when it comes to leveling up, when it comes to getting better, you need to just go into a dark area that you don't know and have to do the digging to find out what you don't know and how to solve what you don't know. For instance, let me just make an app to um, I don't know, to list all the ingredients the family is bringing for the holidays. We have 10 family members. Everybody's going to bring a dish. I want to make a simple app where you just put your dish on there and everybody can see it. All right. That has
Yeah.
different parts. I need to display it. I need to have a way for the users to sign in. I need to have a way for them to have an admin panel. I need some connection between what they add to what shows up on the screen. There's different pieces. I know how to do these pieces. Okay. I don't know how to do these pieces. That's where you do your research. And you'll find out how to do a piece and you add it to your project. You find out another piece, you add it to your project. And somewhere along the line, you're going to bump your head. You're going to try to do something that doesn't work, right? If you don't have any of these moments, crap, you're not growing, right? I'm going to say crap just to keep it PG.
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah.
You have to have those moments. You have to bump your head into things you don't know how to do. And I like people when they do it in environments or work on projects that mean something to them. So the whole question about what kind of projects to do projects that mean something to you. I just gave the easiest example of the world because it's almost Thanksgiving, an app to show recipes and show dishes for a potluck, right? Everybody has that. I remember my man James, he made an app to manage the time because his wife managed a kid's soccer team, so an app to manage the time that each kid played because they wanted to make sure everybody got equal playing time. Like, just look at your life. Don't ask some tech guru what kind of project to make. Look at your life and just make something for your life. And in the process, hopefully there will be multiple elements that you have no idea what to do. You're going to have to go to documentation. You might look at some examples. You're going to try some things. Some things will work. Some things will be crap. And in the process, you'll come up with solutions. And I'm telling you right now what I know. Those solutions you implement, you will remember. You won't need flashcards. You won't need Anki cards. You won't have to do any review. When you are working on something really hard and it won't work, then you finally figure out how to make it work and you implement that with your own hands, those lessons stick. And that's the level up that you were just talking about. That's the level up. You now have that as a capability. You doggone well better put that on your resume. This is not just, I know Python, I know Django. No, I know how to connect a database, a non-relational database, to a Flask backend because I had to do it and I didn't know how to do it. So I went to the Flask documentation and that was crap. But I found a video by like you can talk through that in the interview. It's real. You remember that experience because it was painful. Most of us will remember one of two things: the highly pleasurable moments of life, the highly painful moments of life. And I'm suggesting, crazy as it might sound, some of us need just a little more pain in the building process and the learning process, because those are the lessons that stick with you. So the solution to tutorial hell is forget the tutorials learning just in a vacuum, right? After you've gotten to a certain level of language competence, just build something. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's better if it means something to you, so you'll be more interested in sticking with it when times get hard, because we've set this up to make sure you're going to have some hard times. So you have to hit the documentation and find those resources. That's what you're going to do on the engineering job every other day. It's not that all the solutions are all on Stack Overflow or even ChatGPT, to be honest, right? Or any other LLM model. Sometimes you're going to have to just dig and try things and dig and try things and dig and try things. And you'll have a theory and you'll test it out and it won't work and you'll say crap. And you'll ask for some opinions and you'll say, hey, I tried this and that. They'll say, why don't you try this? You'll try something else and finally get that light bulb moment. The scientific process. That's the scientific process. That's normal. That's good. That's good. Go think back to when we took like elementary science in fifth grade, fourth grade. What is the scientific method? You have some hypothesis. You go, you try and test it out, develop it up to a theory. You continue to test it. You analyze the results. You adjust things. You adjust things. You adjust things, and you reach a conclusion. That's the scientific method. And programming falls under the realm of computer science. It is a science. So to be true to the science, you should apply the scientific method even to your learning methodology. Be willing to try stuff. So the whole concept of break things and move fast, or move fast and break things, isn't strictly a capitalistic moray. It comes from the idea of science. It's about just get through the failures so you can get to the success quicker. And it applies not only to job searching, to networking, but certainly to your own learning. Find some way to bump your head against something that you just don't know how to do. And that struggle through it will build, even in an etheric way, mental muscles that separate you from others who are only doing easy things, even to the point of just copy and paste from an LLM or a tutorial or something like that, or really, really handheld type of tutorials. That would build some things that you have that others don't have. So that's the first answer.
Okay.
Second answer, biggest mistake. This might be a bigger mistake that I notice than even tutorial hell, is people chasing other people's dreams. Let me give an example. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I mentioned him on a TikTok, but I want to mention him more publicly. There's a young man by the name of Jason. Jason has a film background. He was very interested in transitioning into a technical background of some type. He learned to code and he got involved in the community. He runs Twitter spaces and has lives on Twitch and things like that. So he began immersing himself in the community as well as learning to code. He's wanting to transition out of film into tech somehow. He landed a position here recently within the last month or two, and he is a community evangelist. I don't know all the technical details, but he works for an HR type firm, right? Torque, Tork. And he's enjoying it. Best I can tell, he's having a blast. Has a great team. He enjoys what he does. And my thing that I love about it is the way that he got it and what he pursued and what he landed probably doesn't fit a lot of people's narrow definition of, hey, I want to get into tech and here's the roles that I want. And that's the problem. Because are those roles that you want or roles that you saw others get and you think it might be cool for you without any analysis of your likes, your dislikes, your particular strengths, what we talked about earlier, ways that you're differentiated from others? These are the things you need to consider, right? What do I actually want to do? If no one else was doing it, what would I want to do myself? What would I enjoy or at least not hate doing for the next foreseeable future? And what strengths do I have? Where do I bring to the table that will help elevate my profile above all others? Because let me tell you something. The cute phrase is there's no competition. You're not in competition with anybody except your former self. When you get to that interview and it's you and three other people or four other people or five other people, you are in a competition. If
That's
it's for
right.
one position, one will win and the others will lose. That's the old man talking because I have to talk to people. We get
Yeah,
just so spiritual hokey dokey sometimes, like we do things that don't make sense. You are in a competition and they will hire who they determine to be the best fit. So, how do you make yourself number one in the race? You got to look at what you want to do, what you're motivated to do, and what your strengths are, what combined strengths you have. I have a combined strength of a certain level of programming ability, a high amount of like likability factor, community factor, leadership in my background, looking at big systems thinking. So I can combine all that together and it really looks like DevRel in Java. It literally looks like that. It probably doesn't look like what somebody else is doing. And that's
yeah,
okay. Okay, this is my thing that makes sense for me and my personal, I don't even want to say brand. It's such a buzzword. Just who I am. And so the old Greek phrase that actually comes from Northeast Africa and Egypt, know thyself. Know who you are. What do you actually want to do? How much research have you done into all the different roles that there are in tech and which ones you might like more than others? Which ones have a high probability of you getting hired into them? If I lived where my parents live in rural Mississippi and I was interested in tech, there's no tech jobs around there. It doesn't matter. And if I was an aspiring developer, it doesn't matter how many gurus I talk to, how many Twitter spaces I join, how many videos I watch. There's no tech jobs there, period. So if
yeah,
I'm trying to get a tech job, I have to analyze for myself, where am I going to go? Am I going to drive up to Jackson? That's 30, 35 miles. Am I going to drive down to Hattiesburg? Like, what am I going to do? Because here, there are no tech jobs. So me going for a tech job that doesn't exist, questions like, well, what were you thinking? Like, what was your example? What example did you follow to say, hey, this kind of makes sense? I can pull these pieces out of that example and it kind of applies to my life, right? It can't be an example that doesn't match you. Oh,
yeah,
I was watching some 22-year-old kid who was born in Berkeley, went to Berkeley, his parents went to Berkeley, he graduated from Stanford with his MBA, and he was hired at a startup. That doesn't fit me. I can watch that for inspiration, but that's not a good model for me. I'm not living that life at all. Geographically, financially, demographically, none of that fits me. So why would I go learn how to code thinking I'm going to live his or her life? That doesn't make sense. I need to find some examples that make sense in my world. Show me the middle-aged black guy who made it. You know what I'm saying? Show me the person
yeah,
from the restaurant background that made it. Show me the guy with or the gal with no computer science background. Show me them. What did they do? Where did they get hired? Show me those kind of examples, and I should be able to pull out different pieces. There's nothing wrong with the kid that went to Berkeley. I just have to know, how do we relate? I'll never forget learning different aspects of programming, getting ready for interviews, and data structures and algorithms, which I've never been fantastic in. Just okay. And I watched a video, and a person was like, "Yeah, so all you have to this is a long time ago. All you have to do is do." They said, "Is do 300 leak code problems, and you're good." And they had a mixture of easies, mediums, and hard. Just do them, and you're good. So I'm going to do them, and I'm on the easy. It's like 2 hours in. I'm like, wait a minute. And a couple of days pass after being depressed. I try another one. It's an easy. And 2 hours in, I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And it took me the longest time, Joshua, to realize here I am. I've graduated from college, I have like a general business degree. I do
Yeah.
not have any technical degree at all. And I'm listening to a person who went to one of the best schools in the country and has a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. I looked up their curriculum. Not only did they have like a Python course, a Java course, they had 2 data structure and algorithms courses in college. So they've already learned data structures and algorithms and passed those college classes. So for them, leak code is just practicing what you know. That doesn't fit me.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't even know it.
Yeah.
Can't go straight to leak code and just do 300 and I'm done. I have to learn it somewhere first. So our lives don't match. And to wrap this point up, to your point, the biggest mistake people make is following examples that don't match them, chasing other people's dreams with no analysis of who you are, what you're good at doing, and what you actually want to do in life. Now you can best position yourself to land a role. I am super happy with my developer advocacy position, knowing that it's not for many people. I am super happy with Jason landing his community evangelist position at an HR firm, knowing that's not many people's path. It doesn't have to be their path. That's his path, and he worked it, and he worked it like magic. And I'm so proud of him and many others who are carving their own way, doing their thing. Your thing doesn't have to look like other people to be a success. It only has to be a success to you. So know what success looks like for you. Man, woman, know thyself.
Awesome. Absolutely wonderful. Such a beautiful speech there. You actually bring intentionality into the equation, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And it's very motivational and inspiring, to listen to you talk about that. So let's narrow it down. You know, Still talking about aspiring developers, right? It's not part of the questions we're prepared though, but I just want to ask, you know, how would you rank self-taught, over, going for maybe a boot camp, something like that. And also let's consider, this factor, accountability. Accountability is very important, so can you walk us through that? Self-taught over boot camp, and which one actually would if you would say self-taught, let's try to factor in accountability, into the equation as well. Any thoughts?
Yes. So, so I consider myself self-taught, though I did go to a free boot camp. So I went to a boot camp that had no cost. It was called Launch Code. It was a 6-month boot camp. That's where I had my first exposure to Python and Java, and I enjoyed that experience. Every developer in any professional setting is self-taught to a degree because you will never learn everything you need to know from any single source. Whether you have a library of books, whether you attend a boot camp, 2 boot camps, 3 boot camps, whether you buy 100 Udemy courses, whether you go to college for a bachelor's, master's, PhD, regardless of your your educational background, you will still have to learn other things on your own. That is guaranteed. So to some degree, every professional developer and software engineer is self-taught. Now, let's just put that to the side. When it comes to acquiring your first technical role, the means that you learn skills is it pales in comparison to the things that you are capable of doing on day one. We tend to focus a lot, There's nothing wrong with this conversation. It's a valid conversation. It's a valid conversation about how we get to a certain point. You were strictly self-taught with videos. I was strictly self-taught with books. He went to a high-paid boot camp. She went to a low-paid boot camp. He has a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. Yeah, all these, and we talk about the different ways to get to a certain point. Yes. So the story is, as best as I understand, Travis got into Google without that traditional profile, that BS degree from a top-notch university, but he was skilled. He was deeply skilled. And you can tell from the way he taught others, he held himself accountable to producing a high level of skill in what he do and what he knew how to do. So that's the big differentiating factor. Whether the person is strictly self-taught or boot camp or not, the big differentiator is however you learn,
Yeah,
determining what the company is going to need from you and how hard you're willing to go for it in your pursuit. There are people who graduate with computer science degrees and can't get jobs because they just got the grade, they just got the degree, but they really don't know how to do anything.
that's right.
They don't know how to do anything at day one on an enterprise level, and it shows. And so there will be one that gets rejected for lack of experience, where the company is truly saying, as we mentioned before, is you're not instilling confidence in us that we can trust you with our code.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, so let's talk about AI, right? So as a software engineer and developer advocate, how do you see AI shaping software development now? And you could talk about, the next few years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So we see this race for AGI among some of the big tech firms. That'll be what it is. It's kind of like the race to the moon or the race to the Mars. I'm not exactly sure what the objective is in that ultimately from a capitalist or from a financial perspective, but that race is on. That's a select small number of people, right? The
Yeah,
engineers who are operating at that level and writing those level of models and that type of compute, that is an exceptionally small data set of engineers. The much larger data set, and the ones that are asking questions like, is AI going to replace me? I think would be much better served by doing a few simple things. So when you learn a language for the first time, you start with this a print statement, hello world.
mhm,
And then shortly after that, how to maybe display something, how to do input output, some of the basic data structures. And eventually you come to the point of building some sort of a simple CRUD app. And you have a general understanding of how the language works. My first suggestion for any developer that gets to hear this is build your first AI CRUD app, right? We pick on companies because we say, oh, that's just an AI wrapper. That's not even a real company, just an AI wrapper. But there's value in the wrapper. I think every single developer on the planet right now, if you haven't done it, write a wrapper for your favorite AI tool that has, an API exposed. It can be Claude, it can be Gemini, it can be OpenAI, it doesn't matter. Just write one, right? Get a text and response, and then begin to understand how to apply that wrapper into business technologies. So if you can feed data into it, it's kind of like adding a prompt to the prompt, right? So the data is not just the general internet. Maybe the data is customer behavior. Maybe the data is sales behavior. Maybe the data is a combination of employee behavior and the entire HR document. This 500-page HR document, whatever. You can learn how to begin feeding these data sets to get quicker knowledge. And the phrase that I use a lot, I've been saying this at all of my conferences recently, is there's a famous book by Bill Gates called The Speed of Business at the Speed of Thought. Just really kind of ushering in the digital age and how things are just going to move faster in business because of the compute power we had. He wrote that years ago. My thought process is we're entering the age of business at the speed of AI. As much as first to market has value, first to market will be driven by AI engines, AI level speed. So I see a future, right? So kind of transition from your first to your second question. I see a near future where every person who touches a computer will be interacting with some sort of an AI system. I don't care if you're sales, if you're marketing, if you're customer service, you will have something that can access a large amount of data and condense it down quickly and give decisions or at least give shortened understandings of what that data means in a current context. right? It might be a best direction to go with a customer, a best product to sell, how much product to buy. The buyers will be using it, the purchasers will be using it, the supply chain. I think all of them will be interacting with some sort of artificial intelligence systems that can just crunch way more data. I was a supply chain analyst. So I mentioned my food service background. I was also 5 years in supply chain, warehouse worker, manager, and analyst. So the analysts draw down product from what the buyer has purchased. So the buyer may make between company A and company B may say, hey, we're going to buy 10 million widgets across the following year. What is the price? They negotiate and that is set. 10 million widgets. I was an analyst. We draw down from that 10 million in what's called a JIT environment, JIT, just in time, because you don't want to hold too much inventory in the warehouse. That's capital that's being used that shouldn't be. Obviously, you don't want to run out of product either, because then you're going to slow down an assembly line and you have to pay fees. So both of those are bad. You want just in time product. We would use manual systems, very manual systems that use a very small data set in order to come up with how much, how many nuts should I buy today? How many sheets of metal should I buy next week? That kind of thing. AI can literally take years. An AI enhanced system can take years of customer data, sales data, inventory data, warehouse data, up supply chain, down supply chain, weather data, election patterns. You can throw all of that into a well-bit system and literally have the most fine-tuned jet inventory you've ever had, far beyond what you can think of yourself or calculate in an Excel spreadsheet. That's what the non-technical people will be using. The developers should be learning now how to at least start with a wrapper, that's your hello world, and then how to apply that into building those systems for those admins and supply folks and sales folks and marketing folks to use. Building those systems. That will extend your longevity. Because while you might have some jobs lost where, yeah, I was building the front end and there's 2,000 of us at this huge company, there's never going down to 1,500. Well, the other 500, if they've been investing themselves into how to build internal systems that help that company make more money, they will be interested in keeping them around. But you got
Yeah.
to get involved. You have to get involved in it beyond just going to the browser and typing in, show me this code, right? That's the easiest, that's the lowest level. Everyone should be doing that. Like kids do that. But as a developer, how can I at least get that API? How do I maximize the compute available in a cost efficient way, right? I don't hear many developers. I've seen so many AI talks just listed in conferences talking about how to best manage them because there's a cost to AI, right? It's not just free. These aren't Google searches, right? There's a cost. Those
Yeah.
tokens cost.
Yeah.
So a maximization tool for how to get the best, I would say the best business decisions as an output or a response from the minimal number of prompts, or how to maximize your prompt in such a way where that cost is minimized, then the lower the cost is per prompt or per inquiry, the more we can do and the more decisions we can make and the faster the company can move and the more money it can make. All this is analysis that should
So
be
prompt
happening right now.
engineering is great to add to your repertoire of skills.
Absolutely. Prompt engineering, but also the financial aspect and understanding how to maximize. That's a min-max problem, right? So that's math. It's a
Yeah.
min-max problem. People should be working on that. Prompt engineering should be working on that, but also business and enterprise use cases. So I mentioned my boss, I'll give him some more props. He has a video that he did, or he has a talk he did at our conference in Germany about these AI enterprise use cases, right? How can you use AI at an airline or a car rental or any other business, right?
Okay. Did you finish your thoughts?
Yes, that was it.
All right. So yeah, I mean, we've actually gone through all the questions anyways, and it's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast. I mean, later on, yeah, appreciate that. Later on, we could probably, have another session, later talking about a specific topic and stuff like that. I really enjoyed our conversation, enlightening. I definitely do have a lot of questions, that I'd love to ask you because your insights are they're very different and remarkably, profound, I would say.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
so much.
so much for, doing this with me. Totally appreciate
Benefits
it.
of being an old guy. I would say benefits of being nosy. That's my
Oh yeah.
superpower. Did I say
Oh
that in this
yeah.
interview? My superpower is I'm nosy.
Oh yeah.
That's my
Awesome.
superpower.
Nice.
I pay attention to everything.
Once again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and insights with our audience today. I totally appreciate it. As I said, we should look forward to, having another session again together sometime later. You know,
Yeah. All it'll
yeah.
cost you is a plane ticket to Lagos. That's all I ask. Easy, easy round trip ticket. I want to see the motherland.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Let's
man.
do
Anytime.
this.
Just stick it up. I will. Yeah, just stick it up. We'll do that. I'll be honored
Awesome.
too. And thank you for the conversation. Great questions. You're a great host. I like doing these because each time at least one new thing comes out. I've probably done a dozen podcasts this year, maybe,
Oh yeah.
and some personal, some work related. But each time at least one new thing comes out. So I'm pretty sure I shared at least one or two new gems that I've never said before with you.
Oh
So this was
yeah.
awesome. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure. I hope you subscribe to all my YouTube channels.
I did on this one. I need to get on the other one as well.
Okay, I sent you the links on LinkedIn so you could check it
Awesome.
out. All
All
right,
right, man.
so thank you for joining us today, and we'll see
Mhm.
you on the next episode.
Until next time. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.